Fair enough. Yeah, for sure. And you have to be at that consistent and repeatable level to then make a real step up, because it doesn't matter if you can, like you just said, if you can do one really good lap or corner every 5 laps, that doesn't really matter. You need to be able, it'd be much better to be a little bit slower than that, but be able to do that every lap, and then you can take a step and then another little step, rather than it being random. So you're completely right. Okay, so you've done some practice on. Sorry, go on. I was just going to say you've done some practice since we last met on this track. So I don't need to go out in front of you and show you where the track goes, but it might be a good idea just to go out and kind of do a warm up, just to go out, get used to the track in these exact conditions again, and maybe I can follow you for the first couple of laps, just to, as long as I'm not distracting you by being there. And no, go for it. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I don't think there is. Like some of the cars, so some of the GT3 cars, you can reduce power, for example. But there's no, I can't add weight to this car. We actually are in a fixed setup session anyway. So I normally fix these coaching sessions so that there's no risk of whoever I'm coaching mistakenly loading a different setup, because I can't see what setup you're running until we look at the data afterwards. So I tend to fix them so I know that there's nothing you can do to change the setup. I know it's definitely the same as what I'm running. But even if I didn't do that, there is no ballast you can add to these. It's a really good point. I don't know, aside from just literally sitting on board with me, which isn't ideal because you can't see. Yeah. So I I'd say the only thing I could do is add fuel, but it won't be enough. Even if I ran with it, I think we both have a full tank of fuel, and I think the difference between full tank, which is 22 liters, and an empty tank is, or like a 5 liter tank, it's only maybe 3/10 of a second, 4/10, something like that. So I don't think it's worth it. It would also, you'd also be seeing me driving differently to compensate for the extra weight. Not massively, probably, but if it was enough to be 6 seconds different, I would have to, in order to go as fast as possible, I would probably just subconsciously change the way I was actually driving, which would be a bit strange too. Focus on maximizing exits or something like that, whatever worked best. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. So, so maybe the best thing to do is, if I do pull away, to just like drop back so that you can see again, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. So first lap, tires are cold anyway, so I'm just gonna drive like I would on a normal out lap. And yeah, if I pull away, I'll just drop back a little bit. But I'm driving knowing that there is less grip, so I'm just gonna brake early everywhere, turn in even more gently, but still drive hard enough so that I'm getting energy in the tires, because I don't want to do such a slow outlap that I don't actually warm up the tyres, so... I tell you what... okay. Do you want to set a button that means you can turn it down? Yes, so I've got one in my car. So when I'm doing a coaching session, so I can hear you talk, I've got a volume switch on my steering wheel. So you go options, sound, and then, so options, sound, and then you've got louder and quieter. And you can just assign buttons for louder and quieter. And then you can change that whilst you're driving. Did it work? Yep, so just going to carry on talking just so you can test. How's this sound? You don't really need to hear the engine too loudly in this car, to be honest. How's it sound? Ah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so on the left of that, there's one that says louder and quieter. Do you see the one I mean? It's underneath sound levels. That's okay. Oh, whilst you're on this section, I would strongly recommend increasing the volume of your tyres against your engine, because it's important to hear when you're scrubbing the tyres when you don't intend to. So I would just crank that up so that tyres are a little bit louder than engine, at least. Yeah, so all of mine are at very different levels. So I have 0 wind noise. I've turned the wind noise completely off because I don't want that. It's completely irrelevant how loud the wind is. I've turned down ambient sound to like -13. And I have tyres at 2 decibels louder than engine. So whatever you have the engine at. So just checking you can hear me if you're in the car. Is that better? Yeah, cool. That's all right. It's good. We can come to some good technical solutions. And then it's always better the next time too. Right, so all I was saying before was, on the outlap, I'm just going to drive as fast as I can to get energy in the tyres, but without any risk of actually sliding or going deep. Ah, yeah, you've got the SimLab pedals. Yeah, they look good. And you've got a good rig now, too. You've got a proper solid rig. Yep. Even the strongest tubular ones still bend compared to these extruded aluminium ones, so that's good. And when you've got your good steering wheel, you'll really feel the benefit. But hopefully even with the brakes, you're feeling the fact that it's, the only thing that's moving is the pedal, not the whole rig. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I have a similar thing. I calibrate my brake pedal so that I can rest my foot on it, and the weight of my foot plus a little bit of pressure won't actually apply the brakes because I don't ever want to be on them by mistake. So, yeah. Yeah, I can stop talking. So yeah. And remember this line into this chicane where we stay right and then we take a straight line and brake and go down a gear, kind of like extending the straight into the chicane. You probably remember we spoke about that one last time. Yeah. Yeah, this is the place where it matters right here. Especially because it's uphill. Like, any time where you need to compromise for a straight that's coming up, because the straight's important, it's even more important if that straight's uphill. So, that's a big one there. Yep. I don't know the names of Oulton Park corners very well, to be honest. I should know them better. Yeah. Okay, so we can focus particularly on them. The main thing I'm thinking about through both of those last two corners, so the double right and then the final kind of hairpin, is just making it to all of the apexes. So there's 3 apexes there. You've got the double right, so that has 2 apexes. And the final corner obviously has 1 pretty clear apex. And my main aim is just to make sure I hit them. And whatever I need to do to make that happen. So if I miss them, I then think about why was that? Did I go in too quick? Did I turn too late? And then for the next lap, I make sure I don't do that thing. You know, I go in a little bit slower because the apex is the important thing. And then the lap time flows from there. Okay, so you can do various things. There's different settings. So I have it on auto blip. So when I click, it just automatically does it, as if the car had an auto blip system in it. I don't know, what have you got it on? What setting do you have on? Okay. So do you have to lift to shift? Okay, so we can fix that. So here I'm going apex, a little wide, apex, and as I'm aimed at the second apex, I'm totally full throttle because I know it's going to make it. So by the time I'm aimed at the second one, I can just put my foot to the floor. And this one I always deliberately underdrive, although this time I was looking in the mirror and completely missed the apex, but I think I got in your way there by missing it myself. Yeah, and I did the wrong line, so that didn't help you. Oh, I can cancel that for you when I'm out of the car. Hang on. You can carry on, because I'm going to catch you up in a sec. So you just carry on. I'm going to jump out, reset your black flag. I just can't do it whilst I'm in the car. There we go. Is it cleared? Did you... Maybe you sped out of the pits or something like that? Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about it. That's fine. Okay, so that should be cleared now. Right, I'm coming back. I just lost control myself, leaving the pits. These cars are not easy. Yeah, if you exit the car, it resets because it effectively puts on a new set of tyres. And because these cars don't have tyre warmers, those new tyres are cold. If you came into the pit and you deliberately selected don't change tyres, so if you're doing a pit stop, you know, you didn't leave the car, you were just doing a live pit stop, then you could tell it to leave the same tyres on and then you would retain temperature. But that you'd have to do like a real pit stop for that. So when you go back to the garage, it definitely removes them. Yeah. You take it as like one arc, but it is two apexes there. Yeah, and you can turn it up louder if you want as well. You know, you can really exaggerate it, so you know when you're sliding earlier. You know if you're understeering, if you're using too much steering lock. That's the big thing for me. That's why I have it turned on, just so there's no chance of applying too much lock. When you hear the tires start to squeal, you know you're maybe overstepping it slightly, or you're certainly on the limit. You're doing well, man, because it's taking me ages to catch you up, so this is good. You have my reference time. In the reference time black box, what does it say? Like mine says versus optimal lap. What does yours say? You know you have your sector times displayed. And you have best and optimal. Okay, so that's not against me, that's against... Because your computer doesn't have all my sectors saved, if that makes sense. That's against all of your best sectors you've ever done added together. So, what does it say your... Okay. Well, I don't know how to explain that, but if it's working, then that's good. Right, I now have you, so now I can follow you. So you can change that. You can change that. So I tend to have it on versus session optimal best, because then I know it's comparing against sectors that I've done in this session in these conditions. But you can have it versus... Normally it's the tab. Normally if you hit the tab key on your keyboard, that should change it. I think if you've got it on the default settings. Okay, your line there is much better than it used to be. Much better. And you were so close to the inside. I think you even hit the tyres. But that was really good. That was a nice line that time. Yeah. I mean, this is a very hard car and track combo. Like, we're really giving you worst case scenario here, but it means when we move somewhere else, it's definitely going to be easier. We'll do like a... So I think that double right will be easier for you when we go in quicker, because it looked like you went in at a speed which allowed you to stay too tight, and then that makes the second part way too tight. I'll tell you what, I'll go in front of you on this lap and I'll show you what I mean. Because it was, when I followed you there, you slowed down a lot for the double right, but it looked more difficult whilst you were doing it at that speed. Because the car isn't on the, it's not on the line that we want it to be on. It means you've allowed yourself to be too tight for the second part of the corner. So if we go in faster to the first part, you'll naturally be a bit wider in the middle, which then gives you a nice open line for the second part. I'll show you what I mean. It was exactly the same with the driver I was coaching this morning in the same corner. When we started going in quicker, it actually started being easier. I'm just backing off on the straights a bit so you're close enough on the corners to see. Yeah, so it's this next right-hander that we're coming up to that I'm talking about, okay? So if we go into this first right and really make that first apex, it pushes you wide in the middle, and then it allows you to get the second apex. So I think you were trying... Yeah, exactly. I think you were trying to give yourself too much of a good entry to the first one by going deep, and then that was actually making you too tight to the second part, and then you have way too much steering angle to get through it, because you're all pressed up against the inside. I'm sure I've said this to you before, but any specific thing we're doing at this track, or any other track where we're talking about a specific corner, like that double right-hander, that's not just a lesson for that corner. That will apply to loads of other tracks that you encounter. You know, corner types you'll find all over the place. And if you nail the Oulton Park one, when you find another one that looks similar, you'll just know how to do it better. If we go to, I don't know, Turkey or wherever, whatever track happens to have a corner a little bit like that. You're what, sorry? You need to sort out what? Okay. Okay. So I can tell you how you can see when you should change, because on your dashboard, can you see like the gear display on the dash in front? It's when you get the blue light. So it goes green, green, yellow, red, blue. When it goes blue, that is your cue to change up to the next gear. So even if you couldn't hear it at all, that's your optimal upshift point. I actually leave it slightly longer. You know, I say that. I don't actually change on the blue. I go blue, and I just wait like a fraction longer for the revs to increase and then go. But if you're changing on blue, then you're going to be pretty much perfect, to be honest. I think you maybe caught the grass somewhere on the entry. Have you seen what your fastest lap is, by the way? You're over 1 second quicker than you went in the last session we did together. Yeah, you've done a 1:49.1 on that last lap. Yeah, you did a 1:49.1 whilst we were talking. So that's good. That's good, man, because you're doing it subconsciously. We'll just keep repeating it, and as I see you sticking with me, I'll just gradually increase. Because, you know, I'm deliberately driving through the corners, I'm driving like pretty much how I want, but on the straights, I'm backing off just to bring the gap down. So I'll just keep increasing it if you're staying with me. Yep. Yes. Okay, I'll pay attention to what I'm doing on this next lap so I can describe it better. Now I know. So we're talking about like turn 2, right? The entry to the second corner. Okay, I'm going to actually think about what I'm doing this time. I'm going to go through here a little bit quicker just so I can talk about it better. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm braking in a straight line, and then I'm kind of easing off the brakes and just coasting on the way to the apex. So between the turning point and the curb on the inside, I'm actually not touching anything, just steering in and just being balanced with the steering. And then as I see the car approaching the inside curb, then I get back on the gas. But the entry is simply braking and then just easing off the brakes as I turn in. That's it, basically, using the front tyres to slow the car down a little bit. I'll voice it as I do it as well on the next one. In fact, on the next lap, I'll talk you through everything I'm doing all the way around, because it's probably useful. You know, we're recording this as well, so you'll hear it on the recording, and you'll see what I'm seeing. I think you went quicker through there than normal. Like, you stayed with me a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to just talk on this next lap. So I'm making sure I hit the apex and I'm facing out of the corner really early so I can get on the gas early. I'm taking the shortest line possible round onto the start straight. I'm up to 4th gear and I'm braking down a gear and then just easing the car across to the curb on the gas from the inside curb until the next braking point down this hill. And now I'm staying on the right. I'm braking down to 3rd gear, off the pedals, now squeezing the power. Now I've got to the inside curb. Like, everything very, very kind of smooth through there. Not a lot of input other than compensating over the bumps. You know, the steering just moves over the bumps, but no real corrections. And then through this fast left, I ease off and just very carefully turn the car in. I'm going to stop just because I saw some smoke behind me. So that's alright. Damage is turned off anyway. So if you do go in the barrier, even if your wheels fall off, your wheels will reattach after about 5 seconds. So you don't have to lose tyre temperature or, you know, get a full tank of fuel or anything like that. So for here, you know what I'm doing. I'm just turning in, braking, down to 2nd gear in between the left and the right. And then obviously on the long straight here, I'm just taking a real smooth transition from the right to the left, just the shortest distance possible. I'm doing my heavy braking down to 2nd gear in a straight line, and then ease off the brakes across the curb, brake again before the 2nd curb, and really deliberately keep it left so I can lift and then power through the right-hander from the apex curb. But the key is being on the left, ready for the right-hander. And obviously then it's just full throttle up the hill. All the way to the left, ready for this double right. Aim at the first apex, and then squeeze the gas in the middle and try and hit the 2nd apex too. And then final corner, I want to be on the curb there. So I want to touch the curb. In fact, I'll show you on a replay when we finish this, because it'll be much more obvious on a replay. Or maybe I'll show you on the next lap when we get there. But that final corner, I apex where the red and white curb ends. So the red and white curb on the inside, I want to get closest to the inside where that curb basically finishes and turns to grass, and that way you know you're facing out of the corner onto like the next straight, even though it's not very straight. If you apex any earlier than that, you have to keep the steering lock on way too long. Okay. Yeah, that's one where we don't really do a lot of trail braking. Your trail braking for that corner is technically just the steering. Like, so you're not braking, but a kind of form of trail braking, keeping the weight on the nose, is purely the fact that you're not accelerating, and the scrub of the front tyres is decelerating you, so you keep a little bit of weight on the nose that way. But if you brake, if you actually do a significant trail brake for that turn 2, you have too much weight on the nose, then you lose the rear. So it's one of those kind of real tricky corners where to carry good speed, you've got to really do the fine detail. And here it's just apex, little brake again to stay tight to the left. And then yeah, it really helps keep the car tight. And then you don't go really horribly deep before the fast right-hander. So in the double right, main thing is aim at the first apex. And in halfway between the two curbs, that's where you get on the power. So you kind of go, brake, apex, then just stay off of everything, and then power through the middle part. That looked pretty good through that last corner there, Serge. Like, you didn't lose very much at all. Yes, yeah. So I assume you haven't assigned a tear off visor button. Okay, we'll do that after this run. I have a button on my steering wheel to clear the visor. It's worse if you go on the dirt or if you follow someone else who goes on the dirt. Okay, we'll take a look at that as well. When we finish this tank, we've got like 5 laps left, maybe 6 laps left of fuel, including this one. And we'll finish this and then we'll take a look at the data, take a look at some replays, give you a rest. Did you clip the barrier? Yeah. Yeah, it really, the weight transfer makes a huge difference. That looked good. Yeah, that looks better. You know, I said if you go through faster, it might actually feel better. But then obviously go slower for this final corner. Really late apex. Yeah, I think you're going in way too fast into that final one, that's all. But we can fix that. That's easy to fix. Yep, harder, longer braking. Don't stop until you definitely are going slow enough. Yep. Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about it in the corner. You're doing well, man. You're keeping up with me well on this lap. Just keep it tidy, because this is a good one. Nicely held. I saw a big slide, but you held on. Oh, Yeah, that's alright. We've got a few more laps anyway. Yeah, I'm basically not looking forward at all. I'm looking in my mirror the whole time. It's amazing what your peripheral vision can do. Ha! Yeah, it was quite bad hangover. This is the apex here, by the way. So you were closer that time. You were closer, but you were still tracking a bit wide of it. Because you were going to go round me. Yeah, we're going to take a look at exactly what you're doing that's making it hard for you to hit that real apex there. Maybe it's because you don't exactly know where it is you need to be. And if that's the case, I'll just make sure I really clearly point out where you want the car to be. And if you still struggle to get it there, we'll figure out why. Okay. The only thing I'd say is, some of these things, some of the subtleties, they will just come. Like, it's horrible to have to think about it like this, but apart from being aware of what the concepts are, and, you know, understanding them, even if you're not easily automatically implementing them, they will just happen by doing it more. You know, the more you drive, the more you practice, without actually having to consciously implement them, you'll just start doing it, because you'll figure out, again, subconsciously, that is the best way. It's the way that seems to work. Okay, so again, apex here is here. So really, really late. That's better. And that way you're basically facing straight down the next, like, dip onto the main straight. And you can plant the gas then and get a really good exit. Okay, so it looks like we've probably got 3 laps to go. Yeah, sorry. In some cars there would be. Just not in the Formula Ford. Okay, that's good. Yeah, it should, even if you get big damage, it will fix itself. Yes. Yeah, I don't know if we've spoken about this before. Maybe we should talk about it after this run. But basically, yeah, if you're able to apply 100% braking with 1 Newton meter of force, for example, then your resolution isn't going to be very big compared to someone who has to apply 5 Newton meters. They have a lot more fine detail. You've got more leeway to back off that. You know, there's a lot more scope to have differences between 0 and 5 than there is between 0 and 1, for example. So if you have to push it really firmly to get maximum braking, then there's a... Oh, you're out of fuel, okay. Then there's a lot of... oh, because I restarted, didn't I? That's why. That's why I had more fuel. Yeah, it's because I restarted. Okay, so let's go back to the pits, and we can have a look. Yeah, okay, so we can talk about that now. Yeah, one of the reasons race cars typically have firmer pedals than road cars, and it varies depending on the race car, but one of the reasons that a lot of single-seaters or prototypes do have a very firm pedal is simply for that reason. If you have to press it really hard to get maximum braking, it gives you a lot more options below that. So there's just a much bigger resolution for you to exploit. Also, apparently I might have told you this before, but apparently humans are better at sensing how hard they're pressing something than how far they're moving it. So that will also be part of it. So you've got a couple of things there. Okay, so let's see if the data is uploaded. We'll have a little look. Yeah, no problem, man. Ooh, whoa, oh my god. Yes. How's it going, man? So your data isn't appearing for some reason. No. Are you definitely running Garage 61 right now? It doesn't matter if you're not, because your iRacing will have still been logging the data. So if you just start Garage 61 now, it should automatically, within a couple of minutes, upload all the data that iRacing saved. So it should be uploading the data. So let's just see if it does, especially because you're in a session right now. Sorry, my other half is just... Just seeing if it's going to upload. Still doesn't say anything yet. Okay, so on your desktop, on the taskbar at the bottom, can you see the Garage 61 telemetry agent? And on there, I'm trying to see where it is. If you hit... no, it's not on settings. No. So all I did was, when I closed mine and reopened it, it showed me that it was uploading a load of data. I wonder why it's not doing it for you. Okay, when you're in iRacing, can you see the little telemetry icon? This little red thing that I'm putting in the middle of my screen now. Okay. Maybe, yeah. If you had... Did it crash whilst you were still in the car? As in, like... Okay. So maybe it just didn't work. Maybe we didn't get that one. Okay, well, that's all right. We can't... It just means we can't look at that particular session. Yeah, I can't... Last driven 34 seconds ago. Hang on. I wonder whether it's doing something. Looks like we're having issues. I think that... I don't know why that is. I think that's just because of your computer crashing. Yeah, just do a handful of laps now. We can go out again and do it. I just wanted to show you a couple of things. I'll tell you what we can do. We can look at your video, because I have your video saved. So let's use that, because you won't have the replay saved, but I can see. Just before we do that, though, let's do a couple of things before we forget. So let's make sure when you go on your options screen, on Shift Aid, make sure you have Auto Blip clicked. I don't know whether you have that on. Was that already on? Okay, that's good. That just means that it will, you don't need to lift off the gas when you change gear. You should be able to just click and it should just change. That's what it should do anyway. The next thing is you need to set a visor tear-off control. So when you go to controls, here, where it says tear-off visor on the top left box, it's on in-car systems. Because that will make your vision much more pleasant. Okay, so let's just review your best lap on the video without the data, because the data doesn't actually matter that much when we're 6 seconds off or whatever. We can see the differences, so we can talk about them here. So this was actually a really good lap. But you had a massive mistake in one of the corners, and it was still your best lap ever by 1.5 seconds, which is good. So I'll just show you what was good, okay? So turn 1, you turned in a little bit early. You see how I'm turning in over here, and we're already half turned in. But the good thing that you did was you turned in very smoothly, and you loaded the car up gradually, so it didn't bite you, and it allowed you to carry good speed in, and you still hit the apex at the right point. We just weren't quite facing out of the corner as much as we probably could have, but definitely not bad, that one. So then down to turn 2. You're using all the track. So this is good. Like, really, really good. You turn in about the same point as me initially, but you are now still going straight, and I've just turned a little bit earlier, but we're talking small margins here. But that slightly late turning is why you just struggle to hit the curb on the inside. See, we just washed past it a little bit. However, again, small margins. So in the scheme of 6 seconds, that is not a big chunk that you've lost there. That was not bad at all. So we can just perfect it. Now let's see what happens here. So it sounds to me, the sound is not accurate, but it sounds to me like you're not full throttle. But if you say you are, then I'll believe you. I have to hear it. So this is third. This is fourth. But it sounds like you're at like 2/3 throttle. But anyway, the sound is not always accurate at all. So, and that was good. What, through this corner? You shouldn't be full throttle through this corner anyway. I'm massively lifting through here. So it sounds like you're not full throttle on the straight. Yeah. Like here, this point here, it might just be the sound being wrong. I can't tell without seeing the data, but it sounds like you're kind of hovering on the throttle, not fully down. That's probably wrong. It's probably just the sound. So if that sounds odd, like you definitely are full throttle, then I'll just go with what you say, because I've had that before with people where I've said you need to stop lifting at this section, and they're like, I'm not lifting, and then I look at the data and they're clearly not lifting. So this really, really nice and accurate again. So this is part of the reason this was such a good lap. Look how accurate you are. You're like all the way around here, like on the grass / curb. So really, really good. And you don't commit to the throttle too early. You actually commit a little bit late. You probably could have gone like here and you go now. But still, like very tidy. So we might not be on the ragged edge. We might not be on the limit everywhere. But you're being very neat and only just below the limit most places. So this is good. So everything so far is it's obvious why this is your best lap. Again, very tidy. Like there's a little bit more margin we can use. Let me just move the view down slightly. So there's a bit more. Like we kind of want to be angled this way instead. So if I click to my car on this same lap, and we just go back. This is one of the benefits of having me in front. It means I can just click between our two cars very quickly on the same lap. But yeah, you see how I'm facing kind of straight here, and you're just kind of half a car width across to the right. It's only a little bit, but it does make the next corner a bit tighter for you. But having said that, still decent though. I mean, look at that. That you were not doing that last time. You weren't maximising the width of curbs and stuff. And yeah, we go a bit wide here, but we don't go wide here for any reason other than you just pointed the car that way. You weren't like sliding or anything. You had a little slide there. In fact, if I just show the steering wheel, we can see it a bit more clearly. So you have a little oversteer moment here, and then you just don't ever actually take the steering off. You just keep driving that direction. So you could have stayed on the track there, but you didn't want to overload the car, so that's fine. Like, well, obviously we got an off track, but that's probably why it didn't show up on your Delta as the best lap, because that would have counted as a 1x off track. But I don't care about that because we're not in an official session. So, right, down to the next corner. Let's see what happens here. Again, really good here. Like, keep doing this. Okay, any wider and you're going to spin. But this right here is great. And into the... A little bit. And here there's a load of room. Yeah, and that wasn't because you were sliding. That's purely because you just didn't turn the wheel early enough. You thought the car would respond too well, probably, if you turned earlier. So you just turned a little bit too late. And actually, you know, you didn't turn that much. So, and that's put you a bit too deep here. You see, my car's already offset to the right slightly. So although you use all this curb, which is great, because you've gone a bit deep in the first part, back here, that means when you hit this curb, you're facing a bit too far straight forward, and you really have to slow it down to get it back to the left. So that's why your life was a little bit harder. And I know I'm not on a limit lap here, but it's that angle there. You see, I'm facing that way. That's the way I want to go, and that's the way I've got the car facing, whereas you're a little bit straighter over here, which just makes everything harder. So a lot of this is about giving yourself an easier ride. It's just that bit there. You can feel suddenly you're now going to have to increase the steering lock to make the corner. There, and there's the increase. Or slow the car down, which you don't want to have to do. And all of that means that you were a little bit too tight into this one, which then compromised this. So I know it's only half a car width, but it's so crucial in this corner. And obviously that meant we couldn't get to the curb. But first half of the lap, great. Middle part so far, I'm kind of going to give you a B or a B minus or whatever for this part. But still not bad, and you're about to get like a D for the double right-hander, but you still get your fastest lap. So that's why this is so encouraging, because even though you're about to have a huge mistake here, you still get your quickest lap that you did of the whole session, or ever, actually. So let's see. And there's some very encouraging bits. Okay, this is probably what sets you up for a bit of difficulty, because there's no reason why we couldn't be fully over here. We're not sliding, you got plenty of time, you just told the car to be in the middle when we could have been all the way left. So that's definitely one thing that can help. Let's just watch it play out in full speed. And then I'll go back to the slow-mo. So obviously you can see from that, you go very, very wide, and you're lucky not to go straight on. You're lucky actually that there's a little bit of concrete here. You see just here, there's what they call... It's what they call grasscrete, where they've got like kind of concrete blocks with grass growing through it, but there's still more grip than if it was just grass, because it doesn't get deeper and deeper and turn to mud. It's just like a kind of get out of jail free section, because they know people go wide there. And you were on the limit of it. But why did that happen? So let's see. So first of all, it's because you were here rather than over here. And then, although we want to go to that apex over here, I'm just going to watch your steering, actually. I'm going to go in slow-mo so we can watch your steering. We're turning very gently, and it's almost like the corner surprised you. It's like you got to the curb, like here, and you were like, oh shit, there's a corner here. like you didn't realise it was coming. Maybe we were talking, maybe I was distracting you, so Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, that's fair enough. And I'm going to just raise the angle up here so we can go above the car, so you can really see the shape of the corner. So if we go right up here, so you can see it is this. It is two apexes. It is like a. Although you drive it in one arc, you've got apex. So it's got this flat bit in the middle that you want to be wide of. If I just zoom in a little bit here, just so we can see where we go, I'll show you my run through there, so you can see it's kind of geometrically what you'd expect if I go slow-mo. So we're just going to go outside, and then like, although I don't actually touch that apex curb, it's like you can see what the aim is, and then apex. So it's just like, sorry, what were you going to say, Serge? Just going to try and get back to the view that we were on before, if it lets me. Oh, wow. Okay, that's not the view I want. I didn't even know I could do that. Hang on, I must have to go all the way up and back down. Hang on. Okay, maybe if I just type 0 in here. Okay, there we go. It's because I zoomed in too far. There we go. Okay, so, I also think you're going in, you were attempting to go in a lot quicker than me. I'm just going to look at what speed do I get to. So at the point I really start to turn here, I'm doing 154k, and I get down to 147 or so. So let's see what speed you're doing. At that same point, yeah, I think you've braked really late. Because if you have a look, you close in on me. You see, you actually catch me in the braking zone here. Look how close you suddenly got to me, just there. So I think there's that point where I'm over here, I'm going brake. In fact, I can probably see. Yeah, so I'm already on the brakes. I'm braking from here. And if we go back to your view. So I'm braking right here, where my car is now. So let's see. Now you're there. Now you're braking. So it's like, I think you're trying to do it too fast. And do it too fast in the middle of the track. And that just added up to you're not going to make it, basically. I've also just picked... This is just one lap out of loads. You know, this is lap 7. You did 15 laps in that run. So you probably weren't doing it like that at the end. It's just this was your fastest lap. So this is showing you how much time there would be to gain through this one corner on that lap. I mean, that's at least a second, I think, you could gain through there if you nailed that and did everything else exactly like you did on this lap. So then let's get to the final corner. So, we've wandered slightly away from the line, from the white line. So here we're perfect. And then we just... You see where my car still is now? See how I'm still on the line. And you're starting to turn it. You've kind of made an initial turn. So you've just made the corner more difficult for no reason. And now we get to the main turn. And you've actually got a harder corner to negotiate than I have. But you still hit the apex at exactly the right point. Like, perfect. You know I said where the curb ends? That's exactly what I want you to do there. We just couldn't do it as quickly as you could have done it if you were out here when you came to turn in. So if you turned in from here, then you can really hit that apex. So slightly more and be travelling quicker. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit like... So this is an analogy from the race weekend I was just working at. I was coaching these young kids in the Junior Saloon Car Championship. And one of the things I'm always doing is looking at their cars and seeing... Could the cars mechanically be any better? Like, could the mechanics be doing something to make it better for the kids? And sometimes you'll have, like, a piece of bodywork that's slightly out of alignment. You know, you see, like, a bumper that is a little bit exposed to the air, where they've had a small incident and it's not been reaffixed very, very tight. Or there'll be, you know, 5 kilos over the weight limit at the end of the race. And I'll say to the mechanics, do you think we could just, like, clean up this bodywork? Make sure it's really smooth and tight? Or do you think we could just find some, you know, cut the ends off some of the bolts because we need to find 5 kilos somewhere. We're giving away lap time. And they'll say to me, that won't make any difference. And I say, no, that won't make a difference, really. But when you add it to the 10 other things I find, it will make a difference. So if you do all of them, eventually this car's going to be half a second quicker. And it's a real similar thing with these lines. Like, you turning in slightly early here, that is not made... That's not made 2 seconds difference. That's made a small difference. When you add that to using all of the curb you can just here and to running all the way wide just here, suddenly that probably is half a second. And it's the same. It's just got to make sure, and you'll never see me on a good lap. You'll never see me on a good lap not using all the track. And the reason is I can only do the good laps if I use all the track. So So you have to like do that process, and the small things definitely add up. So, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It really, honestly, there are certain elements which are missing, but the overall package is basically. I mean, there's a reason Max Verstappen was racing, Nurburgring 24 hours on a sim this weekend. Like, it's because there's so much crossover and it's so similar. And I never want you to think that when I'm telling you, when I'm saying, look, Serge, you're away from the edge of the track here. I'm not saying, you idiot, why weren't you doing this easy thing? Like, because I know that there's a reason you're not doing that, and that reason is you're building in margin because you don't want to crash, and but we want to just erode those margins because eventually you don't need them because you're not going to mistakenly drive on the grass, or most of the time you won't. You're not going to need a bit of buffer room because you're going to make a mistake and you need some room to make the mistake into without having a crash. I want to build your confidence to the point where you're not worried about that. And so you naturally, of course, you're driving on the white line because you don't need any extra space to make a mistake because you don't make mistakes because you've had enough practice. So. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice sometimes to build on a thing, and try and improve and nail this particular thing. It's also nice to have some variation too, but yeah, I'm always happy to do. From my point of view, I can make work whatever you want to do. If you want a change of scenery, or if you want to stay with the same car and track for 2 months, We can make any of those scenarios help you improve. So the main thing is that you don't get bored and that you enjoy doing it because you will put effort in and focus on it if you're actually enjoying the sessions we're doing. So that's why that's why I don't message you 3 days before and try and really nail down what are we doing this week, because it doesn't really matter. It's what happens during the session that matters more. If you were practicing for a particular championship, if you were entering the Mazda MX-5 or whatever series, and next week was at Silverstone, yeah, then definitely we're going to practice Silverstone. But if you're not, if you're just generally doing exactly what we're doing here, just trying to drive better, then we can do it anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Man, if I went and did an amateur tennis competition and got in the top 10, I would be over the moon, you know, because it's not a thing I'm good at. So it's not a thing that I've done since I was a little kid. So, you know, finding a competition that is hard for you and doing well in that is a worthy challenge. So I think everything we're doing in these sessions will help you in any car we do as well. So this is all good foundational stuff. So okay, well, I should probably go have dinner with my fiance, so I'll go do that. But it's always a pleasure, man. Let me check. Let's have a look. Scheduled events. Nope, we don't have one in because it's not in my calendar. So I'm just gonna put in my diary what we did today, just so I remember this session. I'm not gonna write any detailed notes just yet. What did I write last time? Last time I wrote, we ran through some example laps. We did a ducks and drakes session. That's where like we follow each other. Serge managed an entire tank of fuel before having an accident, which basically meant you did loads of clean laps. We discussed concepts like choosing the best compromise for various corner types. Best lap 1 minute 50, and today best lap 1 minute 49.1. I'm going to put that in right now. So when is a good time for you in the next week? Let's have a look. I do have some time next week. No, nothing. So I can put that in now. What was the time we wanted to do that? And that is 7 p.m. Yeah, that works absolutely fine for me. Now, I think I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing, so that's why I was tentative, because I might have been going off to the next kart race weekend, but I'm doing that the next day. So, yeah, so that's absolutely fine. I've got nothing else on that day, apart from building a go-kart, which you'll see in the next video. So let me add that to the calendar now whilst you're on the phone. I've been making 3 more karts for 3 new drivers for this next... I had 3 weeks to build 3 karts whilst doing work, as you know, like normal work as well. Right, view live page. I'm just adding this in so you get an email. So this is Thursday the 30th at... right, it doesn't let me put 7 p.m. because I've got that blocked out, so I just need to fix that. I'm just finding why... Yeah, I've just got this thing in here where I have to manually change it. So people can't book in... so people... I can add it in, but it's just so other people, if they do like the automatic booking, I don't get an evening booking when I might be busy already. So if I put this until 9 p.m. for that day, then it gives me loads of time. I'm going to try again. Sorry, man. You can't even see what I'm doing because I'm doing this on a different PC. Okay, Thursday 30th. Yeah, there we go. Now I've got the option. I'm gradually learning my own system. And just making sure I've got your email. Yep. So, okay, fine. I won't put a track in. We'll chat about that. Right, scheduled. Done. That should pop up in your email. Awesome, man. Right, well, you have a lovely evening. Well, afternoon. I guess it's quite early still for you. And, thanks, man. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you watching it, man, and I always enjoy our sessions. I look forward to these ones, so thank you very much, man. Right. Have a good week. Bye, man.